about trauma-informed and trauma-centered. I want to assure you that these words are theoretical. Many institutions talk about them but can't practice. All jobs, they tell me, you have no experience of America. Now, how will I get it if you don't give me something to begin with?
The Ms. Texas Show is a voice of hope for victims, survivors, advocates, and community leaders against gender-based violence to share their stories and resources. We began showcasing life in Texas. Today we are impacting lives not only in Texas, but also around the world. Under our segment Military Time, we run this segment in partnership with the National Veterans Chamber of Commerce. We invite military and veterans who have overcome traumatic events to share their experiences during and after their military service. Under our beauty segment, we invite fellow pageant winners and contestants, artists, musicians, actors, models, and dancers, and last but not least, our survivor leaders from family violence, sex trafficking, sexual assault, stalking, and other traumatic events who are ambassadors for these causes to share their lives and the impact they have made. To become a guest on our show, email us at MsUSATexas@gmail.com. If you would like to support victims and survivors of gender-based violence, make a tax-deductible donation to Hope Pyx Global at www.hopepyxglobal.org.
Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of the TheMsTexasShow, and I am your host Eileen Dawn. Today we have another special guest from the International Book Awards, and she is the author of Human Traffickers Should Be Prosecuted. And her name is Rosette Nsonga. Welcome.
I'm so grateful to be on the show today.
Well, I know it's a heavy topic, right? So I don't even know how do we get started. Can you tell us a little bit of yourself? I know that before the show I had asked you this is your personal story. I just want to commend you for being the voice because this is what this podcast is all about. We are the voice of hope for victims and survivors of abuse, human trafficking, sexual assault, domestic violence, gender-based violence. So can you tell us about yourself?
My name, I'm Rosette Nsonga. I'm from Uganda, Africa, East Africa. I'm currently 53 years old. I write this book because about myself. I came to US basically to seek asylum. I was a politician back home. I grew up from a rural setting as an orphan. My father died when I was 6 years, and I grew up with my mother. So I grew up in a setting of suffering. And at age 17, I was abused through rape because I was looking for tuition for my school. My mother was not having. Then a friend received me that there's a gentleman who wants to pay for you. So I went thinking he's someone who's feeling sorry for me and my mother not having the money. So I was a victim of rape when at 17. So that one impacted me a lot, but my mother could tell me, please work hard, you will be okay and better than those people who, in Africa, I was raped and got pregnant and gave birth to a fatherless child without a father because the gentleman denied responsibility. So I had that trauma of rape growing up, but I managed to go through it because I studied, got good jobs, worked with international bodies, and became a serious activist of human rights and gender-based violence. So that made me very, very popular. And later on, at the time when I got the problem of being trafficked, that was 2016, I went into elections as I wanted to be a parliamentarian to advocate for women in the parliament. Then I went for politics. After that, I was told to, in my camp, I was elected to nominate a presidential candidate who was a prime minister in the previous government. And elections were rigged. like it has been in Uganda. So I had now a problem. The incumbent was telling me, please, you must join my government, because I was a very, very popular activist and I had a big followership. Then the other prime minister was telling me, please don't embarrass me. So I was in between two big men in the country fighting for me. So I thought of seeking asylum for my safety. Then that's when I got someone, I called a friend, saw me on Facebook and told me, Rosette, because I was in New York for a conference of CSW. I was the one coordinating CSW activities in Uganda. I was a coordinator for civil society organizations. So I came to New York in March 2017. Then my colleague, who also ran for parliament and failed, okay, our votes were rigged as it is in the story. But with her, she had a daughter in the US who was already a citizen. So she saw me on Facebook and told me, Rosette, are you still in New York? I said, no, I'm back home. But at that time, I was planning already to leave the country. Then he told me, please run and come to US. My daughter is having company with 3 branches and he wants someone, a professional like you. Because I have a master's degree, postgraduate diploma in banking management. I had a diploma in education and several trainings because I'm a banker. I worked with the international bodies, with banking, and I was really doing well in Uganda. But because of the politics, I could not stay. So my visa was valid. I came to US to do, they told me I'm going to be a manager of a company. So I came rushing. I came in September 2017. Because I was hiding from how the story goes, I'm just trying to give a brief. So when I reached here, my friend introduced me to the daughter, and they told me how the company is in San Diego, another one in Corona, another one in Los Angeles. I will choose where I want to go. And now when I reached, I also had to tell them what I wanted, because I said, why I'm going to work, but I want asylum because I have these issues. I can't stay here without being here officially. So they told me after some time, they told me, oh, the Trump administration stopped allowing asylum. And now they want you to first have a work permit. Before it wasn't there. So they didn't tell me that you need to have work authorization to work in the US. So they told me it will take 3 months. So I stayed. To cut the story short, the mother, when I arrived, initiated me to do the housework as I wait for the work permit and to keep the children. And he told me he has a job of living and she will be checking on me. And he got lost from me. He blocked my number. He left me with a daughter who turned me into a domestic worker, caring for the children and the family. So that is what happened to me. When I told them what about the asylum, they told me Trump administration no longer gives asylum. And I told them, can I get an attorney to help me know this? They told me the attorney wants 20,000 US dollars. So you have to work. And he wants a down payment of 12,000 US dollars. So you have to work for me for 1 year. Then you get the one, I will be paying you 1,000 per month. Then you pay the attorney. But all that was a lie. At the end of the day, I didn't get anything. I was in-housed. I was tortured. Whatever happened to me is in the book. So I was trafficked in to people whom I thought I knew, and they put me in-house until all that happened to me. So at the end of the day, because of my experience and all that, whatever happened in the book, I managed to go to court through help of other people. I went to the labor commissioner who helped me in San Diego, and I happened to win the case. So that victory brought me peace, although there are other issues. But why I wanted to write the book is that there is human trafficking, right? And we have to know, how do we sensitize others not to fall victims? And also, the victims should not go by fear, because they create fear in us, fearing police. Don't talk to anyone. Don't go to police. Police are bad. They will deport you. So I bring out that book to sensitize others that it is possible to sue and get justice. So that's what I want to build. What I want to create that awareness. I want that book to reach many people, to reach these would-be victims, to also embarrass the traffickers, so that they know that they can be prosecuted by victims, survivors. We are still people, we still have our rights. So that's what why I bring up that, because between the winning of the case and now, I've seen so many things that put survivors to a lawless, to inhuman. Even in the networks that said help us, still survivors are kept in a way that it is inhuman, which I think I needed to come out and show that no, let's come out and build ourselves capacity, because I had no way I could air out what I have in mind about what I can do or what I can add onto combating human trafficking. Other then I cried for 2 years, 3 years. I cannot get a job. I'm qualified according to me. They tell me in the US they don't want those qualifications from Africa. I cannot get a job. So I ended up doing cleaning service, cleaning. Right now I'm even right now where I talk, I'm a security officer. But I canceled myself and said, let me settle for smaller jobs, but get avenues to air out what I can do to combat human trafficking. And one thing which comes to my mind is to write, because I'm already an author of another meme about rape, which is called Sex for Education, No Easy Road. It is on Amazon. So I canceled myself and said, let me also come up with this one. Human traffickers must be prosecuted, to inspire others to also come out to prosecute, and to know that police is there to help, and to know that the courts are there to help, because many survivors today believe that police is bad. There are no courts of law. Survivors have to remain as they are. So those are the purposes I am writing, and I'm still continuing to write. My next book is going to be published this month, and I'm calling it Hard Times for Survivors of Human Trafficking, because that's the only platform I'll air out. I cannot get any professional job here in the US. Where I work, I cannot have any platform. So I resorted out to writing and doing some consultancies here and there. Thank you.
Wow, that's amazing, Rosette, and it's so powerful. And while it's sad, like I said, your story of how you kind of, when you were little, you were raped, but because of your culture, your mother, you have learned to get strong and be successful in your career. And in fact, you were very successful in Uganda. But because of the political situation, you had to leave the country. And then because of that unfortunate vulnerability, traffickers took advantage of you. And I think this is so important for people to hear, because I know that you talked about rape, and you talked about your first book, you talked about other sex trafficking victims and other things, but labor trafficking is not talked about much. While it is great that our country has been working very diligently on fighting sex trafficking, fighting child sex trafficking. And I see a positive shift, however, that it is leaning more towards labor trafficking. But to me, I believe that we need more voices, more education about what this is about. And so thank you for sharing your story, and thank you for, coming out and doing what you're doing. Now, you talked about you were here in 2017 in CSW, and you are a human rights activist and a gender-based violence activist, and all the great work you're doing. And however, because the United States do not recognize your degrees from your country. You know, you talk about your new book about the hard times for survivors. We have a variety of audience, from government agencies to survivor advocates to survivors and the community. If someone is hearing you and you want to seek help, what kind of message would you want our audience to hear?
Currently, the audience, because I'm limited with the audiences, as I told you. I'm a security officer, I'm a cleaner. It has been hard for me to penetrate audiences. But I've tried using my skills to reach out to some networks whereby I'm a survivor and I do some work with them as consulting and all that. One thing I can say for now is that survivors are traumatized even further after leaving the trafficker. And the situation we get after the trafficker at times are worse because they are psychological. And that means that people, many times people are re-trafficked. That's what I can say. That will come out in my next book. Because you can be, after, for example, myself, when I won the case, I was given employment authorization. No one told me what to do with it. I didn't know what it is. Institutions that help us, after giving you authorization, they close your file. They don't prepare you. Now you begin suffering than when you were with the trafficker maybe. And that's one thing. There's a gap between the trafficker and the outside. So that's one thing I've seen. Two, I want people to know that labor trafficking is equally painful like sex trafficking. Some forums I've been in, as a labor trafficker, they see me as someone who is not having issues. Actually, you are segregated. Let me use that word. So that one, even when they are training, I've been in some trainings, they will define labor trafficking differently. I personally, I have two government institutions that defined my case differently, and they were arguing differently. I cannot mention them here, but government institutions, two government institutions not knowing this one is saying this one is a labor trafficking, this one says no, this is not. Another one says because it was not raped, because they had this is so. Each of them are quoting different laws. I think there's need to have uniformity about labor trafficking. That's another message I want to come out with. Then another message, after we get we are rescued and whatever happens and we are given authorization to work, we are limited. There is this thing I want to bring out. Institutions are not ready to bring our capacity, to build our capacity to be independent. Institutions remain to want us to be dependent, because they can tell you, please, if you get more than this amount of money, you are going to lose social security. There's something. You will lose housing, you will lose this and the other, such that many people opt to remain with that government support and stop. They fail to work because you will lose housing, you lose the food stamp, you will lose, is it some money they give per month? That one, to me, I opposed it, and that's why I think either I'm suffering, but to me, I think I'm okay. Because if we are supposed to be built our capacity to be independent, to be of value to this government that has helped us. Because when I work, I can pay taxes and I'm contributing to government. Then why do you encourage me to remain earning low so that I can benefit from government? Then when will government benefit from us whom they have helped? That one is a missing gap. Many institutions want people to remain vulnerable, to be dependent, and that's what I want people to know, and that's what I want to preach. And also to my fellow survivors, let no one tell you to remain on this social security, that because they are making you to be dependent for life. This is a country which has many opportunities. Today, me, I'm a security officer. I know I'm not very happy, but I can sustain myself. I can even send some money home. But now, when I remain on social security, I'm actually giving the government a burden and the taxpayers a burden. So that is a missing gap. So building capacity, and also finally, maybe because of time, I hate the word trauma. It has been misused. Everyone knows that someone who is who is trafficked remains with the trauma 24/7, and therefore, I was told by some institution, a big person telling me, you see, Rosette, you have to be, they trust that you are out of trauma maybe after 10 years or 15 years. Really, what measures do they use to show that everyone who is trafficked is traumatized? So they put that word to keep us inhuman. That one is something I have sensed, and many. So, I request institutions who are supporting human trafficking people, survivors, to also respect them, to know that they are still people. People think we became trafficked because we are foolish or because we lack something. But these are common things. So that respect is not there. When they are helping us, they are not helping us to bring us out, to one day be like them. No, they are bringing us as dependents to the government, to the institutions. But to me, it is sad. I would prefer, as my professionally, I'm a capacity building expert. I've done this in several institutions internationally. So I believe everyone has the capacity to come out of that small situation is in and become a somebody. So there's that gap and a lot of disrespect for survivors by institutions that help us. They help us to remain independent. It is so painful.
I'm so sorry that you have, to endure, in addition to your situation, other organizations that are re-traumatizing you, shall we say that, the lack of respect, the fact that they're not trauma informed, that they're not survivor centered. And I think, it's so important that, and thank you for pointing out that just because you're a survivor from labor trafficking, that doesn't mean that you didn't have to endure as much of the trauma abuse as sex trafficking. So this is so important to know. Like while you were talking, I pulled up the stats from the Department of Health and Human Services. And in fiscal year 2019, the stats shows that although there were like 47% of those who came out reported that are sex trafficking survivors, and 5% that are both labor and sex trafficking survivors, and another 5% were labor trafficking, and 45% were unidentified. I do want to point out that this is why I facilitate and we provide this platform of voice of hope, because just because that's the number, that doesn't mean it's actually what all the numbers are. Like if you, Rosette, did not come out and have not stood up on your own feet and stood up against the traffickers, say that's it, I'm done with you and I'm gonna sue you and I'm gonna come out and report and whatever. And that's why this is so important that you're here being the voice and share with others, regardless if you're a migrant, regardless if you're asylee, regardless if you're a refugee. And, we've just had the World Refugee Day. And, it's so important that this is happening to everyone, regardless of your gender, nationality, race, educational, and social economic status. Just like you said, Rosette, you were so successful, you had so many degrees. And I'm so sorry that you have to go through that, but I commend you that for all the hard work you're doing, and especially for being such a great activist, for bringing the voice to the surface, and for speaking for those who are still voiceless, and for shining the light on them. So you talked about, your first book about sex for education, talk about your second the next book, and we have a variety of audiences I mentioned, and you said you had difficulties finding a job that really meets your real qualification. What would you say if our audience are listening and some of them they might be hiring, and what would you tell them?
What I would tell them is that first of all, there's something you said about trauma-informed and trauma-centered. I want to assure you that these words are theoretical. Many institutions talk about them but can't practice. I was in a network of survivors, which I will not mention. I lost my job at Amazon. They laid off in January, and I was a victim. And I was doing some consultancy with this organization. And I could get like maybe 1 hour in a week. I could get like 2 hours, and I was depending on that because I was looking for jobs who were not there. But when I'm an activist who have been active, I have done this for years, over 15 years. I went on LinkedIn and said, I wrote a poem critiquing the system about experience. They say experience, experience, experience. Experience, where did you go? We love you, all of us. I was talking about all the jobs. They tell me, you have no experience of America. Now, how would I get it if you don't give me something to begin with? So I wrote something about experience because I've got so many regrets. I think 1,000. So I was like, experience, where are you hiding? Experience, I need you. We need you. The aged, the young, we need you. Experience, where do you live? Can you come over? We love you all. I made a poem, it is on LinkedIn. Then the boss told me, Rosette, what are you writing? You are still a survivor. We are still teaching you how to talk. Only to wake up when my contracts have been terminated because I did that poem. But this is a survivor institution that knows that I have lost a job. I'm depending on consultancies, those 2 hours per week, but terminates me. Is that institution trauma-informed? Me, who has no job and I'm a victim of labor trafficking, and you terminate me, you are throwing me to the streets to be homeless. So just like one example I've given, trauma-informed should be real, shouldn't be words. That's for institutions who are helping us. Please, we are still people. I'll go back to your question. Can you repeat your question again?
If we have employers who are listening, what would you tell them?
I'll tell them this. If you say you are only employing people with qualifications from America, then you are telling us that human trafficking is only done in America. You are telling us that human trafficking is internal. You are not accommodating externals like me. That is what it means. A woman, I'm now 53. You want me to go back to elementary school in America and go to high school and go to university? If I get a job, how old will I be? So what I'm telling employers, please, survivors, we are a unique community. You would consider that. And at least create jobs for us. Even employing us within our own institutions, where those institutions that are working with the survivors, at least they would know that the survivors, maybe who came with qualifications from outside, can work within themselves. Maybe you create jobs for us, because that will limit everyone. And many times they go back to trafficking, So we are pleading with you that please test us. Someone, employer who is there testing me with a job, you will see how I can produce. But you don't give us chance to test. How will you know our expertise? How will you know that even if we have these qualifications you don't like? How will you know that I can at least try when you throw me completely outside? That one is something I want the employers who are there to know, that human trafficking has international people. probably who come here at adult age like me, and also who are already educated, probably give us chance. But you have locked us now. I have all this information. I have all this. I have worked with the European Development Fund. I've worked with the Foundation for International Assistance, Concern Worldwide, Global. I'm a very good grant manager, grant writing, everything. But today, I'm standing just like this from morning to evening. Are you helping survivors? Oh, these are theories. That is my concern. Another thing, for employers, all those who are working, organizations working with survivors, please build our capacity. Build our capacity and say, Rosette, maybe do this and this. Maybe you can work in this store. Maybe you can do this. Don't throw us after getting us the employment authorization document. To fellow survivors, please get out of these government assistance. Have it, then prepare to work so that you can also contribute to government. People hate us because we are dependents on their taxpayers. So when we come out and also show that we can, probably they will love us to join them. But we are dependents. So being dependents, we are doing bad to the government, but also to ourselves. Because you can't remain dependent for life because you are getting food stamp and the housing and all this. And that is the reason many people who use us, they use our knowledge. I know they love our knowledge, but they don't want to give us positions. They end up giving us gift cards because they will say, please, we are protecting you not to pay taxes. That's why we are giving the gift card. That makes me more vulnerable. Madam, I'm telling you, I refuse the gift cards. If you use me, you give me the money and I pay part of it, the tax, and I be a responsible citizen. So my message goes to survivors, goes to the employers, and goes to those non-government organizations that help us but don't want to help us to be independent. They want us to remain independent and we are their business.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing this. And it's very important message, that we need our survivors to be independent. And that needs to be done through the organizations, the government agencies, the employers being truly inclusive. We always talk about, I love what you said, this is just a theory. And they all say we're trauma informed, they are victim centered, but what is really trauma informed? What is truly victim centered? We have so many victims and survivors that come from outside the country, like yourself, international. But when we truly are inclusive, we should not have set those limitations only because they're international. It's like you mentioned, you're over 50 years old, and how can you really start from scratch? It's just, we talk about DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Where is the equity when it comes to that? You were so successful back in your country, and it's not fair for you just because you were in a dangerous situation. Building the capacity that you're talking about, and also very, very importantly, that by doing these, you are not gonna be re-exploiting our survivors, because you put our survivors in a very vulnerable situation, and what do you expect them to do, right? So thank you so much. I cannot say enough, and myself, I cannot wait to read your book and learn more about yourself, your story, and I can't wait to see you at the book awards. And is there anything else you would like to leave to our audience before we go?
I'm leaving to the audience that since I cannot actually get those jobs that can make me air out or be part of the activism here in the US, or be part of the system limits me so much. My potentials are limited. I have resorted to writing. and writing, please, whoever is listening to me now, get my book. Vote me. Let me be the winner of this section of survivors of human trafficking. Because I have a lot I've shared in that book where many people will learn about it. This book is here to inform the survivors, the victims, the police, all the stakeholders, your parts. I really applaud the system, the judicial system here. But I also know that many people work towards showing that the judicial system is bad. And also, finally, I'm telling the police there's a lot of need to create awareness about your roles. You are doing great jobs, but traffickers are doing more and more jobs to tarnish the role of police. I'm lucky and happy that I've been given the opportunity to work with the Blue campaign under the Department of Homeland Security, and I'm going to bring their ideas where we have to do a lot of. We want to create awareness. Please, victims who are there, come out and go to government institutions for help. Traffickers and those people who want to make you to be re-trafficked, they are always preaching against the system that can help you. For all those who are telling you, please don't go to police, don't go do this, don't do this, they want you to remain there so that you are their business. Let's come out and do these petty jobs. They have money that can keep us, at least I'm talking from my room, but at least I can pay. I can service, I can do everything. So let's come out. For those who are seeing me, I'm a consultant. I do a lot of reviews. I have written, I'm a co-author of books, tools. I co-author the self-determination and care and safety, which was published by National Survivor Network. I'm a co-author. I was a co-author of a document called, it was already published. It is care, safety, and determination, self-determination, a people-centered approach, community, public approach to combating human trafficking. This is a tool that was published by National Survivor Network in January 17th this year. I also participated in meaningful engagement of people with lived experience, that toolkit. I was a consultant in that toolkit. So I'm part of that. Even a lot is done and my quotations are there. I also participated in peer engagement in research with people with a lived experience. Currently, I've been appointed with the Blue campaign. I just started this month. I'm going to work with them on reviews, focus group discussions. So what I'm trying to tell the audience that I'm really an expert in capacity building. That is originally, I'm a capacity building expert and organizational development. Looking into the organizations, how can, especially in the small communities. Right now, I'm an expert in human trafficking. I have taken a lot of time to study it. I've taken time as I experienced, and I can assure you that I'm doing a lot, and I want all my books to bring them out because that is the only forum I can bring out all this. And I request the audience, whenever you see a book by Rosette, Nsonga on human trafficking, pick it and grab it, because all I want to communicate, that is the forum I've decided to educate people about. Because at my age, I can't promise someone that I will go in elementary school and acquire education system of America. But trust me, I know I can build capacity. I know I can influence. I know I can change. Next month, I'm going to train survivors of one big organization on how to turn their stories into books. We want to turn our stories into books. Why? Personally, I'm tired of people using our stories and giving us gift cards. And yet they say we are traumatized. So my challenge is, are we only without trauma when we are telling our stories? And after our stories, the trauma comes back. So you don't trust us with jobs. You don't uplift us. So me, I want to encourage every survivor who is listening to me. Wake up, stop crying, wake up, write your story. Let it be a book. Self-publish it. They will buy it because these stories are very important. And we want to leave them behind us even when we are gone. But this business of giving us gift cards for our stories is one thing I'm not happy about. And I want all survivors to come out to be strong and know that we suffered for these stories. We continue to suffer. They don't trust us. They look at us as people who don't have brains. And yet they want our stories. Please write them. Let them buy our books and take our stories for the use they want. Thank you very much for those who have listened to me. Give me your likes. Give me your shares. Let me win this book award. Thank you.
Thank you, Rosette. Such a powerful message, and wow, it's like you've done so much, and yet you are still thriving despite of your circumstances. And this is what I'm gonna leave with you. And for all of you who coming later, this is the MsTexas Show. I am your host, Eileen Dawn, and like Rosette said, please like and share, and so that we can empower more people, we can save more lives. Thank you again for tuning in. Thank you, Rosette.
Thank you. Bye-bye.